Hello, and welcome, fellow medical educators, to my podcast, Leadership Philosophies. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Steph Kuntz, and I will be your host today. I work as both a neurologist and a medical educator. While medical training does an excellent job at preparing doctors to be good clinicians, it often falls short in teaching us to be good leaders. This is particularly concerning because all physicians eventually will step into leadership roles. I'm currently pursuing a Master of Education to deepen my understanding of what it means to be a good teacher and a good leader. In this podcast, I'll share with you some of what I learned. Before I enrolled in this program, I believed that leaders possessed a shared set of skills that made them effective. I thought if I could just learn the recipe, I could easily become an excellent leader. I've since come to learn that that is not entirely true. Today, I'd like to share my emerging leadership philosophy, which is that leadership is an adaptive practice. So what does the literature have to say about leadership as an adaptive practice? The first source that I want to highlight is a paper by Mulford titled Recent Developments in the Field of Educational Leadership, The Challenges of Complexity. In this paper, Mulford describes leadership as the art of navigating competing forces within dynamic systems. He argues that schools face tensions which must be balanced. Some examples include sustaining continuity while still embracing change, or maintaining dependence on external policies while fostering internal independence. Another example is responding to the unique needs of individuals while acknowledging the needs of a community. For Mulford, leadership doesn't lie in eliminating tensions, but in learning to act through them, recognizing that complexity is the environment in which leaders must operate. Similarly, the video, 7 Key Tensions Every Leader Must Balance by Jordan, emphasizes that leadership is less about adopting a single style of leadership and more about fluidly navigating opposing demands. Jordan contrasts emerging leadership styles with traditional ones, showing that both have strengths and weaknesses. Rather than presenting one style as superior, though, Jordan highlights that leaders have to be able to move between different leadership styles depending on context, sometimes listening and empowering, but at other times making decisive prescriptive decisions. Hallinger takes a similar stance in his paper, Leading Educational Change, Reflections on the Practice of Instructional and Transformational Leadership. Hallinger draws a distinction between instructional leadership, top-down, managerial, focused on short-term efficiency, with transformational leadership, collaborative, geared towards long-term cultural change. Neither model is positioned as inherently superior, but each is suited to different challenges. Hallinger argues that the most effective leaders can shift between these orientations, moving from managerial oversight in high-stakes situations, maybe to transformational vision building when context demands innovation. Now that we've examined the literature, let me illustrate the importance of adaptive leadership with an example from my own experience. In my role, I'm responsible for designing the formative exams that neurology residents have to take every 6 months during their training. The exam is intentionally difficult at the beginning of training, but by the end of their careers, it should reflect a fair and accurate benchmark of what residents need to know as future neurologists. After each exam, I solicit feedback from residents, and unsurprisingly, many of the early or junior trainees report the exam is way too hard. Although I appreciate the feedback, the problem is the exam is meant to be difficult, and that's how it serves its purpose. It highlights critical gaps in knowledge and motivates further growth. It also tracks improvement over time. Adaptive leadership here means that I had to push back against my usual leadership style, which is to just accommodate the group consensus. I listened to feedback, I validated frustrations, but I explained that the exam is designed to feel challenging at the early stages of training. I held firm on keeping the exam's rigor because my role isn't just to make learners comfortable, it's to prepare them for the realities of practice. So what does this mean for us as medical educators? I think the takeaway here is that leadership isn't about rigidly applying one style of leadership, but it's about having the courage and flexibility to hold tension. Leadership as an adaptive practice characterizes leadership as a dynamic, context-sensitive process that acknowledges competing demands, resists simple formulas, and prioritizes both people and purpose. As medical educators, if we can model adaptive leadership for our learners, we will not only shape better clinicians, but also cultivate future leaders who can navigate complexity comfortably. With that, I want to thank you for listening to my podcast. And till next time.